Okay, people, I was describing to you before, your rights are not a given, they're earned. You don't have a right to a fair trial, a quick and speedy trial, effective assistance of counsel, due process. The only rights you have are the ones you know and the ones you take to court with you. That's why I've been telling people ever since the internet started that they could print out the rules of professional conduct, the code of judicial conduct, and take it to court with them and demand the judge and the lawyers do their job. The legal obligations behind the oath, their constitutional duties, which are, your constitutional rights. So, anyways, let's get back to this. This is an old video I did years ago. I haven't watched it in its entirety because I have PTSD. This brings me back to the day I should have died because I was going to step into court and go over due process, a fair trial, effective assistance of counsel, the statute of limitations on a quick and speedy trial, which they exceeded. And exceeding that, my case should have been dismissed with prejudice for exceeding those limitations. But the judge didn't want to hear anything from me, consistently denied me my right to be heard, which is my constitutional right, and it's in the Code of Judicial Conduct, Canon 2, Rule 2.15, I think it is. But let me show you what they did, okay? Because I'm telling you, your public servants work real hard, to deprive you of your constitutional rights. And if you go into court and use them, you may wind up dead, or at least like me.
I didn't know, but now I know that it's like all pillars. And you'll see why. Okay, left side of head swollen. Received after altercation, also left side of rib cage. Took multiple kicks from multiple people to the head, the ribs, basically all over my body, everywhere. It was nonstop. Then it stopped. It was on and off. 40, 45 minutes, maybe longer, I don't know. My head was being caved in. Now, this is just from visual observation. When they had me, they seen my side of my face was swollen, noticed my head. Left side of rib cage, they kept hitting me there. I thought my heart was going to stop. 29-year-old, multiple blunt trauma to face, something swelling of the left side of face. Back of something, lips, and something, some type of hemorrhage. I can't say something mild. I think it's a mild. Left eyelid. Multiple blunt trauma to face. I think that's neck. Well, pain and swelling in right knee. Patient states he originally hurt his knee on the job. That was a long time ago. And re-injured it.
Okay, my knee was really bad. Well, both of my knees, but my right knee was really bad. because while I was passed out on the floor, face up, my hands handcuffed behind my back, passed out, bloodied, bruised, and bleeding, and somebody decided to stomp on my knee, and that was so hard that woke me up, and that's when they started to beat me again. Oh my, it was hard to walk for a very long time. I didn't start walking normal or close to normal till about a year and a half, 2 years later.
And she's been incarcerated. I was attacked by a whole lot of guards. Says possible sprained knee. While they were beating the hell out of me, I passed out, I guess, because I woke up. I was flat on my back, my hands handcuffed behind my back, and somebody stomped my knee. And I think it's called hyperextended. That thing went down so hard it made me flop back up and it went at me again. No heavy lifting. So they keep sending me back to the hospital, reevaluation, trauma, being beaten up, was seen on 11/18, x-ray was taken for face, and so.
Okay, that video is over 35 minutes. I'm just showing you a little portion, but I'm just letting you know what they'll do to prevent you for demanding your constitutional rights in a court of law. I should have died that day. I don't know what kept me going. Cermak Hospital didn't treat me. Said they didn't have the facilities to treat me. They sent me to Cook County Hospital, and while I was in the emergency room and the nurse was cleaning me up and oh my and oh God and all this other stuff she was saying and cleaning the blood from my face, it was coming off my head somewhere. My ear was bleeding. I was coughing up blood. My nose was bleeding. And she was taking notes there in Cook County Hospital. That was before Stroger. She was taking notes, and the doctor came in and asked what happened. And she told him. It was when the guards brought me in, they said the people I was locked up with beat the hell out of me. So when the nurse asked me, I said, no, they did it. She said, the county sheriff did it? I said, yes. So when the doctor came in, she told the doctor, and the doctor told the county sheriffs that if they treat me, they have to report it, and if they have to report it, heads will roll. And from that day on, to this day now, I still suffer from massive migraines. So many times I thought it was going to kill me. You can't believe the pain it gives you. It's like I was right back there again, getting my head crushed. And I have flashbacks, and then I'm there again, lying on the floor, bleeding and from every orifice possible, body twisted. And when I do get up and wake up, I'm covered, if it doesn't happen, sometimes I wake up covered in sweat where I have to peel the sheets off me, let alone my shirts. But so I'm just giving you a fair warning what could happen. I mean, your public servants have no problem stopping you for asserting your rights. I mean, you see how they treat people for asserting their rights on the streets. It's going to get worse in court. When they did this to me, a lot of people were trying to figure out who I was. For years, I was popping in and out of the courts in Cook County and different courts and doing what I do, teaching people what due process is. giving them copies of the rules of professional conduct, code of judicial conduct, complaint forms to file complaints. And I got chased out of a lot of courtrooms. A lot of lawyers got mad at me. Public defenders were always telling the judge on me. The judge was, I got chased out of the courtrooms. I can't count how many times. The worst it was when they used to have a courtroom on 13th in Michigan. And I guess too many years of doing that when they caught me in the system, and when I started talking the way I talk, that's the way I was teaching other people to talk. So it's, as the Chinese call it, it's my chop. It's my identifying signature. Anytime people were mentioning the conspiracy against rights under the color of law, yeah, that was my chop. Ask if you know anybody that's Chinese. Ask them what a chop is. This is my chop. But I warn you, your rights aren't a given; they're earned. And when you try to earn them, you may wind up unalived, brutally. But it still hasn't stopped me from doing what I'm doing, and I know it's going to catch up to me again. But as long as I can help at least one more person, it's become addictive for me. You're getting your kids back, getting released because of a lack of probable cause, getting released for exceeding the quick and speedy trial clause, I tried to help people with divorces. I help people get their kids back, And the only payment I ever asked for was their time. To understand what I understand, to read what I read. And some people told me I was pretty smart. I told them you would be too if you read what I read, so read it. Some people came back to me wanting me to represent them in court, and I can't do that because legally I didn't pass the bar. I didn't even go to law school. I went to college, but that was for electronics. I didn't graduate, but other than that, the only academic credentials I have are that of a GED, but I have an affinity for literature. I love to read. And when it comes to important things like your constitutional rights, I've been doing my best to teach you. But remember, conspiracy against rights under the color of law led to conspiracy to commit murder. I knew what was going to happen, but I had to say it anyways. I knew how the judge was going to act, because it was me. There was nobody in that court that knew what I was talking about except for lawyers and judges. I was alone. There's no cameras in the court. So, if there was cameras in the court, anybody who read the rules of professional conduct or the code of judicial conduct could clearly tell you, that they were operating under the color of law. So we need cameras in the court. The stenographer kept stopped from time to time when things were being said in court. When I was trying to talk, the judge was telling me, tried to talk to the judge, and the judge was telling me to talk to my lawyer and have my lawyer talk to her. But my lawyer wasn't giving me, he wouldn't allow me discovery, which is against the law. If you check the disclosure law, I'm entitled to discovery. And everybody in that courtroom knows that, and it's everybody in that courtroom's job to see to it that I got discovery. But the more demands I made, the worse things got. This was 29. 36 years ago. And you've seen my complaint that I filed with the Department of Justice. Well, actually, I had to go to the FBI. I've been filing complaints with the Department of Justice, the FBI, the Judicial Inquiry Board. I sent a complaint. I forwarded to U.S. Supreme Court of Repository. No matter what I do, what I say, they ignore me. But that was just one person. Now, with the use of the internet, I can let you know what I was going through, what I've been trying to do, and hopefully you'll assist me. And the only assist I need is for you, if you desire, if it's truly what you want in a nation of laws, you are entitled to these constitutional rights. And somebody needs to stop this conspiracy against rights under the color of law in courts. It's rampant in courts everywhere. The rule of law, I spoke to you about the rule of law. They gave themselves qualified immunity, but the Supreme Court ruled that the rule of law was the absolute king of law in a nation of laws. Any law repugnant to the Constitution is void. Qualified immunity is repugnant to the rule of law. Okay, but I just wanted to let you know what you might face. So don't tell your lawyer. I got snappy, and I told the lawyer off, and he ran and told a judge. And so just keep it between you and everybody, because you're going to want to take some company with you to court and to know what's going on, so you can have witnesses. That's the one thing they don't like in the court, witnesses. Often they'll close the court, but why would they close the court when you're entitled to a public trial? And not just you, but the public is entitled to that public trial. The public is entitled to know what's going on in that court, in every court of law. And let's bring up one more thing, reporting misconduct. Reporting misconduct is mandatory. Any violations of the rules and the codes is misconduct, and it's a legal obligation of all lawyers and judges to report any misconduct by any judge or lawyer, and nobody's doing it. That's what I tried to do. Report this misconduct, show some candor toward the tribunal, being diligent, expediting the litigation. No matter what I did, no matter what I said, I was ignored. And I tried to look up that last case of mine on the internet, and it's not there. I think I'm being erased. They don't answer my complaints. They never gave me an answer, even on the internet. I think they erased the record, but I still have hard copies, as well as putting it on a net in the cloud, several different spots. Sometimes it's hard to find because my mind moves too fast. But you have no rights, people. If you've ever been in a court of law, you know that. And deprivation of rights starts with your attorney. When you get an attorney and they don't sit you down and go over the rules of professional conduct with you, the legal obligations that is constitutional obligations to you. See, those aren't just the legal obligations to you personally. Those are the legal obligations to we the people, the general public. If you read the rules of professional conduct, the preamble, was it line 12, I think it is, in the preamble, 11 or 12, but it says that all lawyers are to do what's in the public interest. They're public servants, not in the interest. What they are to do is not in the interest of the bar, or self-serving, or parochial interest, meaning in the interest of religions. Because we're a nation of laws, and the Constitution and Declaration, it's both there in big, beautiful letters. We, the people, we are endowed by our Creator. I have some Muslim friends. I have some Asian friends. They aren't Christian. I have some Jewish friends. They aren't Christian. And they're the ones that started the war on Christmas back when I was a kid. Because they don't celebrate Christmas. They celebrate Hanukkah. And a lot of people are upset when they started putting their religious symbols up instead of hanging figures of Santa Claus and Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer in the window. I mean, even a lot of religious people, I'm Christian, there's a lot of Christian denominations that don't celebrate Christmas the way most people do, you know, with the tree and putting up Santa Claus, and you know, they get mad because other religions don't celebrate Christmas, Christmas the way they do. Jehovah's Witnesses don't, the Mormons don't, so many Christians, I mean, everybody does it differently. In a nation of laws, the rule of law is king. All right, and that's not happening. All right, so get to know your rights. You're gonna have to take the chance if you don't want to live under the color of law. You're gonna have to learn what your constitutional rights are and take them to court with you. And I can't guarantee you that the judge or the lawyers will live up to the rules and the codes, because they never have, and they never will, unless you know what they are. You know, I lay dying there. I thought I was gonna die. Swear to God, I thought I was taking my last breath. I started begging the Almighty. First, I was begging to die, calling him out, Father, take me home. Heaven, take me home. And that just didn't happen. So it changed from, if you help me through this, get me through this, give me your strength, I will continue what I was doing, you know. And Jesus being my light, showing me the way, gave me a joy in my life that's beyond monetary value. When I help people and seeing them get back what they lost, or reuniting with loved ones, or not being evicted, those smiles, the happiness brought back into their life, that's my payment, that's my joy. To me, those people reaching out to me were blessings. They served my purpose in serving the Almighty, following in Jesus' footsteps. I didn't just talk the talk, I walked the walk. And I nearly died for it. And since then, I haven't been able to continue what I was doing for me because people were coming after me, so I had to change it and start, well, just focusing on all of you. I mean, what I was doing for me, I always spoke, not just in my name, but in the name of we the people. You can erase me, you can erase my name, but you'll never forget who I am. I am we the people, whom you took the oath to serve and protect. Violation of that oath is deprivation of rights, and anything on beyond that is unconstitutional. People, your public servants hate the Constitution more than those commies in those communist countries. I mean, come on now. I've been called a few times the constitutionalist because when it comes to the Constitution, you know, in a nation of laws, any law repugnant to the United States Constitution is repugnant. So I use the nation of laws to shut down the egregious, disingenuous actions of your public servants in a court of law. All right, so what I was doing for me, I was doing for all of you first till I got caught up in the net. And I had to do it for myself as well as doing it for you, and I had to stop doing it for myself, and I'm still doing it for you. My old ass didn't know anything about the internet or computer. I had to buy a computer. Nobody would teach me how to use it or get on the internet or the programming or none of that. And, just to those of you who grew up on the internet, it may be simple to you, but when you're as old as I am, when I went to school, I didn't have a calculator. I had an abacus. And believe it or not, I didn't know anybody didn't know how to use that outside the teachers. But anyways, the 60s, that was a different time. That was a long time ago. This is now. Know what you're living with. You're living with your public servants operating under the color of law, which is forcing you to live under the color of law. Look those terms up. It's on the net. Okay, people, let's just watch this for a little more and I'll let you go. For some reason, it's
wrist, right knee, testicles, the groin is gone. Kept kicking me in the nuts, stopping my nuts.
All right, that's enough.
I can't mix up something congenial.
When my hip pops, I'm suffering from lack of medical care, refusal of medical care. All they want to do is, they think I've been accused many times for only going there for drugs, and they get upset when I refuse those medications and say that's the only way they're going to help me. If I hadn't demanded, my right to these procedures, it was, I had to get my shoulders fixed, my wrists, my knees. I'm still trying to get my ankles fixed, and they're trying to convince me, hey, that was a lot of work, that cost a lot of money, And I had doctors telling me I don't need to walk. You don't need to walk. You don't need to go swimming. You don't need to dance. You don't need to have fun. Just stay at home and let the family take care. Because I complain all the time. Hey, I can't, if you fix my ankles and my hips, you fix my knees, fix my ankles and my hips, I might be out for another Saturday night of dancing. Maybe not dancing the night away like I used to, but at least I'll be in a lot less pain. I had some crazy doctors tell me, you're not going to be 21 again. I wanted to say I did. I want to say, listen, Helen Keller, I'm not deaf and I'm not blind. But they think that I don't want to live the rest of my life on medications. I don't take any anymore. I quit years ago. And that's because I found out that that's what was clogging up the pipes where I couldn't shit anymore. I thought I was going to die of a heart attack. I thought my head was going to explode, die of an aneurysm. But then I lost my job, lost my insurance, and, kept losing my insurance and couldn't get these medications. And I got so bad one time I couldn't get out, and I was going through some horrible things mentally without the medications and physically, but I think it was more of the mental effect where I've been on these medications so long I thought I couldn't live without them, but it wasn't until I was forced to live without them that I found out I was better off because I could shit again, I could think again, and here I am on the internet trying to help you. Okay, so if you go through all my videos, you'll learn a lot. I just got done having a conversation with somebody in the comments, and everything I said to him was a whole lot of stuff from my videos. Oh, I wish these people, I forgot to shut off that notification. I'm sorry, people. I've been getting a lot of, I guess, likes or notices, because all I talk about is the law. What you need to know. Teaching you your constitutional rights aren't a given, they're earned. The only way you'll earn them is to learn the law. You seriously need to pass the bar in order to have effective assistance of counsel guaranteed in the Sixth Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. If you don't have effective assistance counsel, how are you going to get a fair trial? If you didn't have a fair trial, how the hell did due process exist? And remember, people, that you have a right to a quick and speedy trial, and those statute of limitations are always exceeded. Look it up. Now, the internet will tell you a quick and speedy trial is only guaranteed in a criminal case, but if you refer to the rules of professional conduct, it requires every lawyer out there to be diligent. That would be competent. Expedite litigation. That would be diligent, and that would be competent. To communicate with you. That would be diligent. That would be competent. It's hard to violate one rule without violating multiple. In fairness to the opposing party, it would be diligent to expedite litigation. I've had plenty of attorneys tell me, well, I didn't get this from the state's attorney, I'm having problems, or I was helping some people trying to get through a lawsuit, and their attorney was saying, well, I didn't get this from the other side, so I told him, hey, I got a car. I said, what's that got to do with anything? I said, we could drive right over there. Expedite that litigation. It would be diligent. I said, who the hell do you think you are? I said, we the people. You are Lord and Master. You're a public servant. Remember that? I don't work for you. I said, no, you work for the public in general. You work for all of us. You're a measly public servant. And he got mad and wanted to drop the case, but the person told him they would get rid of me, and they did, and I don't know what happened. But their lawyer was operating under the color of law, and their client didn't want to take the time to read the rules of professional conduct. They told me that if my lawyer knows that's their job, they're doing it. I said, did you read it? Well, no. Why I got to know that? Because if you don't know that, they're not going to do any of that. Well, how do you know? Did you read it? No. Well, then how do you know they're doing it? And I don't like arguing with people about things they've never read. So I had to walk away, regretfully, and I apologize to each and every one of you I ever had to walk away. But when you're arguing with me about your lawyer, and I'm giving you their job description, written version of it, and the judge's job description, the written version of it, and you get mad at me because I'm saying they're not doing their job. This is their job. Look at it, read it. This is what they're supposed to be doing. Well, why I gotta know all that? Because if you don't, they're not gonna do it. So people, I apologize. I try to deprive you of your ignorance of the law because it can be held against you in a court of law. Lawyers and judges will tell you your ignorance of the law is no excuse in a court of law. Basically, because your ass was too stupid or too lazy to get you a law degree, you're going to take it up the butt and wind up paying the rest of your life. Okay, so, if you're not into butt stuff, learn the rules and the codes, If you're not going to learn the rules and the codes, if you're not going to learn the rules of professional conduct, when you go to speak to a lawyer, you want to get like Diddy, P. Diddy, lube up. Okay, get a truckload of lube. because that's what you're going to need after what your lawyer, the opposing party, and the judge puts you through. Okay? Yeah, you got to lube up like P. Diddy. I don't know about P. Diddy, about his case. All I heard but he was heavily into the lube. So, you know, if you don't want to get screwed in your bunghole, learn what your constitutional rights are. Learn what due process is. Learn what effective assistance of counsel is. You know, if you have ineffective assistance of counsel, a lawyer didn't abide by the rules of professional conduct, you have judicial misconduct, because it's the judge's job to make sure your lawyer does all that, and they just ignore it. You know, they tolerate anything. Your lawyer can make some shit up. You know how AI has been doing? Your lawyer can make some shit up, and, you know, judge go along with it, and the opposing party will go, nobody's going to cite each other for violating the rules or the code, so that's up to you. That's totally up to you. So either say something so you and do something about it, or, you know, just sit back, you know, get you a lifetime supply of lube, hand it over to the courts and the, you know, the judges and the lawyers, you know, like you've been doing with your cash, you know. And, you know, if you want to save yourself some money, I wish I could have talked to some other people that I helped. I helped the gentleman get his child custody. It was real easy. We did it in one day. I'll talk to you later. But I talked about in my other videos, but I'll talk to you again in my next video. Okay, people, but learn the rules, the codes, all right? And, you know, they're not going to do any of that. They're not. You know, if you got a lawyer, go over the rules of professional conduct, print it out, and highlight everything your lawyer hasn't discussed with you. And go talk to your lawyer. Hey, why aren't you doing this? And then go over the code of judicial conduct. Why isn't the judge doing it? You're supposed to be making sure the judge does this. If it doesn't, you're supposed to cite them for judicial misconduct. They get removed from the bench. And then we get these crooked judges off the bench. And a judge not citing your lawyer, well, you know, if he did, then we wouldn't have all these crooked lawyers operating under the color of law. And I know I've already confronted lawyers on the internet, and they didn't argue with me about a thing. Come on, this isn't public. I don't keep anything a secret. And I've had a couple lawyers. One tried to advertise, try to get some clients, putting in comments at one of my posts. Oh yeah, I handle cases for this and that, and all it is blackmail, because he's telling the courts that he's going to sue for conspiracy against rights under the color of law. You know, you give me X amount of dollars, and I'll just let it go. Well, wait a minute. According to the law, he's supposed to report all this misconduct, not blackmail people. And all he's doing is blackmailing his own kind, other lawyers and judges. And he said he was an international lawyer. And I looked it up. He was. I checked his credentials on the internet, and he operates in several different countries. And I told you, people, democracy is universal. The way democracy works here, or supposed to work here, is the way it's supposed to work everywhere. But it's not. I seriously don't want you to end up like I did. That's why I tell you everything I do, or what you can do. But I'm warning you. You could wind up like me, dead. I mean, I've been dead since then. I'm not worried about it anymore. It killed my life. No opportunity to, get a decent job, Any job I did have, I lived paycheck to paycheck because they're holding this wrongful conviction against me. This conspiracy against rights under the color of law, they're holding that against me. And even with these jobs, that affirmative action, that didn't do nothing for me. Not in my entire life. The only thing that got me was the token minority job. Where employers were out there, they said, okay, we're getting, people are, government's coming down on us for discrimination, violating the rule of law, not hiring any minorities, I mean, the rule of law is the king of law in the United States, and it's constantly violated on a daily basis, and nobody says nothing about it. Nobody does nothing about it. It's against the law. Look up the penalties for violating the rule of law. But I'm going to end this now. People are complaining, making ridiculous comments. Listen, I know what's going on in the courts. It's happening in every state. Happening in the federal courts, locals. It's the rules and the codes are universal in every court, and nobody's doing that. So if you want to find a way out, start with the rules of professional conduct and the code of judicial conduct, and that applies in every court to every lawyer and every judge in the United States of America and our colonies. I hear we're going to have more colonies. Puerto Rico, Greenland. That's totally a violation of international law. But either way, I'd like to wish you good luck, but luck is not what you need. What you need is to read to succeed. Your success is in your own hands. If you take the time to learn what I learned, you'll know what I know. I post videos all over. Don't just stick yourself in one and ask me a gazillion questions. I've got hundreds of videos. I don't know, 300 or... Just go through them. I'm talking to you like I'm talking in those videos like I'm talking to you now. Like you were family. There's a difference. I have some siblings, but we're not family. We don't communicate. We don't associate. It's pretty much an adversary role, which I didn't choose to contend in, so I walked away. People have called it a sibling rivalry. That's not a competition I entered in. I've never considered anybody my rival. And I don't need to make myself look good by making other people look bad. That's not me. But, I have people that do their best to make me look bad so they look good. And it happens most with lawyers and judges, okay? So I did. I tried to teach my siblings, their spouses, their children, but... they consider themselves my rivals and think they know better than me, and if they don't know, I don't know. But, every family has different values. Mine, they have none. Okay, so since family isn't always blood, and blood isn't always family. And to the people I've helped in their legal endeavors, I always treated them as if they were family. Not a sibling, but family with love, care, caution. I show empathy. As a religious person, empathy is required. And even in the legal system. It's called the spirit of the law. I could go on for days, weeks, months about you and your constitutional rights. I want you to have a better life. I don't want you living what I go through. You ever notice why when I say, may your Creator always be with you and rain many blessings? I'm sharing you the blessings He's given me in my life. When I wish you a long life and good health, it's because that's what I'm being denied. And just because I'm being denied doesn't mean I should want that for you. I don't want you to be denied. I want you to have a long life and good health. And that's what I'm working towards, and I need your help. All you got to do is go over the public trust doctrine. That's required by the oath. I need your help. I need your help, and the only help you can give me is do for you what I did for me. Have your back like I had mine. Quit. I see people, they're calling out politicians. Hey, we need your help. They're not going to do anything. They're not living up to the basic obligations of public service. Did you read that? I did years ago. Enunciated by Thomas Jefferson. That was written a long time ago. I learned that in grammar school when I was studying the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence, the Magna Carta. Okay, people, I'm gonna let you go. I don't want you to miss out like I missed out. I don't want you to be deprived of anything I was deprived of throughout my life. And I'm tired of living in fear of my life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. You should too. Thank you. Good night. May your Creator always be with you and rain many blessings. I wish you a long life and good health. Peace and happiness. I wish you nothing but love and happiness. Good night.